Only in the world of 2023 would liberals see a bank failure now as somehow Donald Trump's fault.
Today, thanks to the quick action of my administration over the past few days, Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe. Your deposits will be there when you need them. Small businesses across the country, the deposit accounts at these banks can breathe easier knowing they'll be able to pay their workers and pay their bills. Let me also assure you, we will not stop at this. We'll do whatever is needed on top of all this. During the Obama-Biden administration, we put in place tough requirements on banks like Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, including the Dodd-Frank law to make sure that the crisis we saw in 2008 would not happen again. Unfortunately, the last administration rolled back some of these requirements.
Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Silicon Valley Bank literally imploded. And as it was losing millions of dollars a day, you had people like Kramer over on MSNBC telling all of the investors, hang in there, it's okay, it's a solid investment. And it tanked. And Kramer doesn't have the best track record of telling you what to invest your money in. In fact, if he tells you that something is a good investment, you should automatically just assume it's 100% the opposite. That said, this Silicon Valley Bank, not a very old bank, but it collapsed. And it collapsed because in Silicon Valley, it received billions of dollars in investment from the tech community. A lot of tech startup companies were using this bank, and then a lot of the other major players in the tech industry began to move their business into this bank, right down to Roku. If you stream on your TV using Roku, apparently they had a checking account in this bank that had over $500 million in it. $500 million. How that CEO still has his job is beyond me. But they had all of this money that they got quickly, and they didn't have enough history to know how to make long-term loans into people, into business ventures, etc. So they bought a lot into the federal government. Things that they bought from the federal government at a low interest rate were now at a high interest rate because of this thing called Biden inflation. The Biden inflation, because we were printing money off of a printing press in creating a false sense of everything is okay post-pandemic. I know I've killed the gas and oil industry, but we're okay. And we're just going to give you stimulus money and everything's going to be fine. Even though we've shut down businesses, everything will be fine. And of course, eventually that money all comes due. And the high interest rates meant that this bank investing in the U.S. government, it lost the bet. So what should be done? Obviously, there were innocent people who had their money in that bank. It will have a ripple effect into the economy. And I'm going to cut right to the chase. We never should have bailed it out, but bail it out we did. We bailed it out late Sunday night.
Look at Greg Baker, the CEO of Silicon Valley. Right before his bank went under, he sold $3.6 million in stock. And on Friday, showered his bank employees with bonuses. Way to go, guys. Keep up the good work. So the stupid bank in California didn't see inflation coming. They're about as smart as the Fed chair. So when the Fed chair finally raised rates, the bank got crushed. Well, why weren't they paying attention? Silicon Valley Bank is a woke Biden bank. They were holding seminars on Lesbian Visibility Day and National Pride Month. Now, if you want to hold a Pride Month, that's fine, but you got to be able to chew gum at the same time and walk. So keep an eye on the balance sheet, guys. Silicon Valley Bank made themselves too big to fail when they started pumping money into clean energy. The bank financed solar panels big time. This was Biden's Green New Deal bank. So if this bank fails, so does Biden's green agenda. Biden can't let a woke green bank blow up on his watch. He's got an election to win. He's got money to raise from these Silicon money bankers. And it's ironic because the Biden team printed and spent like crazy and lavished green subsidies on everybody, triggering inflation. So they had to jack up the rates, and then they just melted away the very bank that financed this junk.
If the banks have to start paying more into the FDIC, right now they're at $126 billion, they have to get up to $9 trillion to eventually insure all of this. You ever heard of a bank that's going to voluntarily pay more money? Who do you think is going to be paying those fees?
Yeah.
It's customers. We're the ones who's, already bank accounts, they'll charge you for it if you have a low enough deposit. Guarantee you, if they have to increase the amount they're paying to the FDIC, every single one of us are the ones who are going to be paying for it through all these BS banking fees, increase on annual fees on your credit. Oh, they're going to charge you for a debit card now. Oh, you want some checks? It'll be like $900, some other outrageous stuff. They will never pay it voluntarily.
Yes.
There's no possible way that you could ever.
And Sagar is exactly right. This sets a dangerous, dangerous precedent. There is nothing now to hold these banks accountable. Did we not just do this a few years ago? Have we learned nothing since then? And there is another bank going into failure, Signature Bank. And yet, it's interesting that this SVB bank was also at the epitome and the forefront of woke ideology. You look on their website, it was all wokeism and woke politics and equity and inclusiveness, and they were spending literally millions of dollars on these types of investments. Your money on these types of investments. And Shazam, Batman, the old adage is right. Go woke, go broke. And that is exactly what happened. And once again, the political party that says they're for the little guy, the Democrats, and you can't be for Republicans because Republicans only want to give tax breaks to the rich and the evil and those who don't pay their fair share, when in reality, most of the billionaires in this country are liberals. They're Democrats. And why are they liberals and Democrats? Well, they don't mind giving their money to these political candidates who will further their woke agendas and their, absolutely immoral type of behavior. But beyond that, these billionaires, the oligarch, the 1% that controls everything, yet they keep you and I divided and at each other's throats over bread and circus stuff they create. And of all people to point this out, it was Steve Bannon when he went on the Timcast.
No. I'm actually for I'm for repatriation. No, I'm for more than the wealth tax. When you have one
wealth tax,
I'm more than that. No, I want the repatriation. Look, when you have 1% of the people, citizens, own more assets than the bottom 90, that system can't sustain itself.
Agreed.
If the revolutionary generation came back, they would spit on the floor. They fought a revolution to get away from a landed aristocracy and the mercantilist system of the monopolies of the British East India Company and others like it. That's why John Adams and Sam Adams and Hancock were smugglers. The rest were smart lawyers. They said, we want our own deal. We're not going to do that. If they came back and said, you guys allowed this to devolve into an oligarchy, are you kidding me? We're 1% of the people. This is exactly what they fought the revolution for. You guys are going to replay 2008 and 2009, where Louis Gohmert, you had a decision. Do we step in and have intervention and try to save this corrupt system by infusing it with taxpayer cash to bail out the elites? Or do we let the contagion spread and let the devil catch the hindmost? And the problem is when you're looking into the abyss, it's a very tough call for you guys to make because they're going to sit there and go, right now we're looking into an open pit. You have no idea how deep this could go, how the American financial system could collapse, how the international financial system could collapse. So you better vote to bail it out with taxpayer cash. So you're going to take it from people making $45,000 a year to bail out the wealthiest people on earth.
Are you saying let SVB fail?
I think you have to, by the way. Until you get a bailout of East Palestine, Ohio, screw. Look, those people are the guys that mock and ridicule MAGA every day of the week. This is the elite. It's an elite bank. I think, most elite bank in the country. It only has a certain clientele of only the best of these high-tech companies. It's all the venture capitalists. Politically, they all hate us. And they mock and ridicule the central part of this country. They're the coastal elites. Let their venture capital they got plenty of cash, plenty of capital. Let them go bail themselves out. Yeah. Physician, heal thyself. Do not come to us. When you have not, you sit there and you mock and ridicule East Palestine. You have some bogus a hearing when nothing gets settled, nothing gets sorted. Until East Palestine gets a bailout, there shouldn't be one frickin' penny given to anything in Silicon Valley.
Boom. Absolutely right. Why do people making $50,000 a year have to keep bailing out billionaires? Why aren't the Democrats screaming about that? Huh? Why do you and I have to keep bailing out the billionaires when they've got plenty of money, bail themselves out? But of course, this gets sold to us on, we can't let them fail. We can't let them fail. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. The vast majority of depositors in a bank like that, the insurance of up to $200,000 is plenty. I know it would be for me. I'm sure it is for you as well. Anybody that had deposited more than $200,000, I promise you, they have access and they have other avenues to recoup their money. So the FDIC guarantee of up to $200,000 works for you and I. And the billionaires cover it themselves. But now, basically, the federal government and the FDIC has decided no matter how much is in there, no matter how much you have recklessly gambled away and lost, we'll cover it. Dangerous, dangerous precedent. But that's the economy under Joe Biden. And yet you've got liberals out there trying to say that this is all Donald Trump's fault. He rolled back the regulation. And because he rolled back the regulation, look what happened. And now Joe Biden has said, we need more regulation. Here's the thing. Here's the $64,000 question. Name the regulation that Trump rolled back that created this problem. Can't do it, can you? Because it had nothing to do with Donald Trump rolling back any regulation. This had to do with a bank that invested in the U.S. government and lost. This had to do with a bank that was all about woke ideology and equity and inclusiveness, and specifically wanting to invest in businesses that were run by people of the LGBTQ plus 1, 2, 3 communities and other alphabet groups and other disenfranchised minorities, etc., etc., etc. They had a woke ideology. They went woke. They went broke. And now you and I, once again, bailing out the billionaires who just become more wealthy like they did during the pandemic. The greatest theft of wealth in this country happened under the guise of 2 weeks to stop the spread. And John Q. Public just goes, what? What just happened? What just happened? And in a few months, the liberals will feign their heartbreak for the little guy. They'll make a movie about it. They'll put it on Netflix. But right now, in the immediate, they got no problem, once again, raping the middle class to pay the oligarchs, the billionaires, who don't pay their fair share, but who do fund all of the Democratic politicians. That's the dirty little secret.